Okay, we are going to take a look at question 1 of lecture test 2 on inequalities. Now, before we begin to look at the actual solution, I think it is more important to take a look at some common mistakes students make so that you don't make these mistakes ever again. Now, the first common mistake students make is they cross multiply x squared minus 4. And I mentioned in class, the safest way is not to cross multiply any variable term, because you are not sure whether x squared minus 4 is positive or negative. And for some value x, this is positive, for some value x, this is negative. So we are not very sure whether we need to change sign or not. Okay, so this is a reminder again. The safest way is not to cross multiply any variable term. Now, a second common mistake students make is, after they shift -1 over and combine into a common denominator, they get this expression less than or equal to 0. Then they say, oh, x squared minus 4 is positive, so the inequality is the same as this, which is wrong again, because x squared minus 4 need not be always positive. For example, when x is 0, I have a negative value. And let's say when x is 3, I get a positive value. Okay, so x squared minus 4 is not always positive. So this term in the denominator will affect the sign of the overall value. That's why you need to consider x squared minus 4 in your number line method. Okay, so now let us solve this inequality. So you got -1 on the right hand side. Let us shift it over. I'll have 2x plus 1 over x squared minus 4 plus 1 less than or equals to 0. Take note, the question says without the use of GC. So we are going to use the number line method. And the number line method requires us, to have an inequality involving 0. So what do we do next? We combine into a common denominator. So you have x squared minus 4 and 2x plus 1 plus x squared minus 4 less than or equal to 0. So this is the same as x squared plus 2x minus 3 x squared minus 4 less than or equals to 0. Now, when we want to use the number line method, we must always see whether we can completely factorize the numerator and the denominator into factors before we apply the number line method. So from here, the denominator, x squared minus 4, this is a form of a squared minus b squared. So I can write it as a plus b, a minus b. The numerator, I can write it as x plus 3, x minus 1 less than or equals to 0. So this is what I mean by complete factorized form, if possible. So the next step is we are going to draw the number 9, and we are going to find out what are the critical values. So what are critical values? Values which make each factor 0. So in this case, we have critical value over here is -3, here -2, over here 1, and over here 2. Now take note, we accept answers for x, which makes everything 0. So we will accept x equals to -3, we will accept x equals to 1. So let me put a big solid dot to remind myself that I want to include the answer x equals to -3, x equals to 1. And take note, we do not allow the denominator to be 0. So we cannot accept x equals to -2, and we cannot accept x equals to 2. So I'm going to put a big hollow circle here to remind myself that I should exclude x equals to -2 and x equals to 2. Now once you are done, we are going to find out the overall sign for values within each interval. So let's take a look at what happens when x is less than -3. So we can test one value, say sub x equals to -4. So if you check, I leave the working to you. You should have a plus sign here. Between -3 and -2, okay, we can sub in x equals to -2.5 to look at what is the sign. Is it positive or negative? Here you realize that it's a negative number. Between -2 and 1, I can sub in a number, say x equals to 0. So I have a plus, similarly minus and plus. Okay, so I'm going to conclude what is the solution we need. Take note, we want less than or equal to 0. Please read carefully. So we want this region, including 3. This region, including 1. So I'm going to write in red. My solution is -3 less than or equals, including 3, okay, x less than -2. Take note, excluding -2. That's why there's no equal sign here. Or 1 less than equals to x less than 2. Now, the word or means if my value x falls into here, either one, then the inequality is correct. Some of you write A and D. N means that you need the x to follow into two intervals at the same time, which is in this case is not possible. So you need to know the difference between or and A and D N. Now for the second part, please note the word hence. What does hence means? Means use solution in previous parts to solve the next parts. Take note, we have the second inequality given by this. You are not supposed to redo the whole inequality again. Even if you get the correct answer, you will get 0 marks. Why? Because you are not answering the question. The question has the word hence. Means you are supposed to directly use the answer in part 1, find some kind of substitution, modify the answer to get the answer in this inequality. So if you observe closely, I can write x squared as modulus x, whole thing squared, minus 4, less than or equals to 1. And if you compare the original inequality, it is obvious that you should sub modulus x with x. So using the answer in part 1, we are going to replace all my x with modulus x. So I have -3 less than or equals to mod x less than 2, or 1 less than or equals to x less than 2. Okay, modulus x. Now, some of you proceed to solve this inequality. You should observe closely, think more, and look at this inequality. Modulus x. Can a modulus of a number be negative? Answer is no. Modulus always gives a 0 or positive number. So how can a modulus x be between -3 and -2? So straight away here we say no solution. So all we are left is to deal with this second inequality. And this is a double inequality. So how to solve it? This is the same as solving two inequalities. And the thing is n. Because my mod x, whatever value I choose, it must satisfy this inequality and this inequality at the same time. If any one fails, this is not the x we want. So from here we have x greater or equals to 1 or x less than or equals to -1. Okay, this is my first solution set. My second solution set is this. So what does AND means? It means take this solution, intersect with the second solution set. So just draw a number 9, minus 2, minus 1, 1, 2. So from here, our x greater or equals to 1 or x less or equals to negative 1. So here and here. The second solution set is in between minus 2 and 2. So it will be here and here. So the last thing we do is take the intersection. So if you observe, the intersection is denoted by red. So what's my final solution? X greater than negative 2 and less than or equal to negative 1. Okay, or I have a second solution, either one region, the answer is correct. So I will have 1 less than or equals to x, strictly less than 2.